Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Gosh, Tuesday already. Welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. I'm your host, Guy Lambert. Thank you so much for joining us. Another power-packed show lined up for you today. In just a minute, we're going to take you live to the White House. President Trump meeting with the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince. We'll take you there to see what the two have to discuss. And let me tell you, it's a lot. You take a peek at the calendar, you'll see it's November. What does that mean? Cuffing season is upon us. I got a couple of you to smile. Now there's a new dating app that will say, well, let's just say they'll pair you with someone else that have similar music interests. I think you'll like it. And then we're talking all things pro athletes. In this case, did I get that right? Is that the Heisman? Yeah, well, a lot of parents say, you know what? My child is going to be a pro athlete. Not. We'll break it down during our Tuesday Talkers right here on the Live Zone. Speaking of breaking down,
there we go.
Perhaps we'll see him on the field to break it down.
So, Guy, you're saying if I like big band, it's going to hook me up with like a 110-year-old?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay. Because you better be careful about what you like.
That 110-year-old will be very happy, sir.
Well, I mean, I'll be paying close attention to the stories later. Ready for some rain showers. Yes, we actually have a little rain in the forecast. Mostly kind of mid-late afternoon it arrives. Clouds are moving in, and it's going to be a cool day, Guy. Only about 50 degrees later this afternoon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 43 this morning. If you're up early, like 6 a.m. with us, it was for much of the region one of the coldest mornings yet. We had a lot of mid-20s out there this morning. It's mid-20s in Montgomery County. Leonardtown was down to like 23 degrees, so chilly morning, and for certain, a cool afternoon. Okay, let's do the maps for you, and there come your clouds, and they will lower and thicken through the midday. I don't think we'll get any rain for lunch, but later this afternoon, showers will move in. So again, working home from school, you might be okay, but certainly by the evening rush hour, 5, 6 o'clock tonight, the showers arrive. Steady rain tonight if you got evening plans, and it'll all wrap up by early tomorrow. However, we're going to get good soaking rain around here, maybe a half-inch of rain. And just a reminder, we had some wildfire issues yesterday, brush fires, and very dry conditions continue. So the rain is a welcome relief, and will really help us with that to get a half-inch potentially of rain. Okay, future rainfall. This is the models running for later tonight. And again, that's a cool rain out there this evening if you're headed out. 0.5 of an inch, maybe a little more in spots, and it'll all be out here by tomorrow morning. The catch is we never really clear out Wednesday or Thursday. It should dry out tomorrow, but the clouds are going to kind of hang tough here Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe another round of rain by Friday and Saturday. So a little moody this week. The good news is by the end of the weekend, we'll be back in the sunshine, and maybe travel weather next week will cooperate.
All right. Hey, as I always say, it is what it is, and in this case, I kind of like it.
Okay. Good, you approve.
Tucker Barnes, all things weather. Hey guys, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox local app and take that forecast with you on the go. Well, the House is set to vote on a measure to force the DOJ to release its Epstein files today at 2:30. After months of being against it, President Trump now says Republicans should release the files. During his campaign, Trump was in support, but flipped once in office, calling the investigations a Democratic hoax and slamming Republicans who pushed for the release. Ultimately, the measure has to pass the Senate, and President Trump still has veto power. Epstein's victim spoke at Capitol today. Let's take a look.
Acknowledge in the face of survivors that this happened and that this is true. Your vote carries that weight. My sister is not a political tool for you to use. These survivors are not political tools for you to use. These are real stories, real trauma, and it's time for you to stop just talking about it and act. Vote yes.
Obviously, we'll have continuous coverage throughout the afternoon surrounding all things with regard to Jeffrey Epstein. Happening now, federal investigators are trying to reveal the probable cause of the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. The NTSB board is meeting in L'Enfant Plaza to publicly lay out their findings into what caused the cargo ship to lose power before hitting the Key Bridge last March. They will also lay out new safety recommendations. And President Trump, at this very moment, right now, meeting with the Saudi Crown Prince. The meeting is part of an effort by the administration to repair relations with Middle Eastern powers after the Israel-Hamas war. The Secret Service warning drivers of a number of delays during the Crown Prince's visit in Northwest throughout the week. Yet again, we are expecting a bilateral meeting to unfold momentarily. When that happens, we'll take you there to the White House. Joining us now to discuss all things politics and so much more is Miss Madeline Somerville, political strategist, back here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, my friend. Happy Tuesday.
Good to see you too, Guy. Thanks so much.
Yeah, but of course, obviously, you just heard me make mention the president and the Saudi crown prince about to hold a bilateral meeting. AI, a part of that discussion. Advancing AI, I'm curious, what needs to happen in order for this meeting to be successful in your mind, Madeline?
So there are a couple things that are involved here, and it's not just optics. So there's actually some major components to this. So essentially, the Saudi government, which is the superpower in that region in the Middle East, wants access to nuclear energy and chips, microchips, that the U.S. currently has access to. Now, if the U.S. doesn't make a deal with Saudi Arabia on this, we are afraid that Saudi Arabia will go to China. And so what we're trying to do is secure that business. There's also the element of establishing a sort of peace plan, although it's not necessarily peace, but normalizing relations is what they call it, between Israel and Saudi Arabia. So there's kind of a joint effort here. It's both working on the energy aspect of it so that President Trump can get foreign investment in the U.S. and can get that business and not let it go to China, and then also the political and foreign relations aspect in terms of governmental relations between nations.
Madeline, we'll get more on that subject in just a minute when we're joined by former Georgetown professor Jonathan Strum. Meanwhile, we also know that all eyes are on the nation's capital today, where the House is expected to vote on a bill that would compel the release of all the files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Newly released documents show President Trump was mentioned in numerous Epstein emails from 2011. Will this happen, Madeline?
I mean, the president had a big 180 on this. And when you say, will this happen, are you asking, is the vote going to go through, or is there going to be a political fallout? Because it's really so difficult to tell what's going to happen after this. Because the president, I think he was trying to protect himself from whatever might be in there, and he realized that he was causing himself more damage by not wanting to release them. Which is interesting because he's not really a person who makes concessions. He doesn't like to go back on what he said because it's embarrassing for him. I'm glad that everybody's gotten on this side. I do think that the vote will go through. And the best thing that President Trump can do is call for the release of everything and just get ahead of it. If like from a PR standpoint, understand where he is in the files. And if he's afraid of it being misinterpreted, figure out how to frame it. Tell the truth, obviously, but figure out how to tell people your involvement and make it clear that you didn't do anything wrong, if that's the case.
Yeah, speaking of getting ahead of it, that's exactly what Democratic House leadership happens to be doing right this very moment. Let's take you live to Capitol Hill, where the Democratic leadership now speaking on all things surrounding Jeffrey Epstein.
In a very big way, nearly half of the American people, 47%, believe they cannot afford health care next year. And then Gallup asked a second question about drug prices, and 1 in 5 Americans say they or one of their family members can no longer afford prescription drugs. That is the highest that survey has ever recorded since they asked that question. And so we're asking Donald Trump Republicans to get serious and work with Democrats on bringing down healthcare costs instead of increasing healthcare costs. And nothing Republicans are doing this week is going to help reduce the cost of healthcare. We also know that other costs are rising. And so they put out a statistic about consumer price index changes to groceries from January to September of this year. It shows that coffee increased 15.3%, ground beef increased 14.2%, and bananas increased 7.9%. So Trump's tariffs and the rubber stamp Republican House members are increasing costs at grocery stores as well. We recently saw that the Trump administration is going to lower tariffs on some grocery items. That is finally an acknowledgement that Donald Trump has been lying to American people all along. Tariffs, in fact, are not paid by foreign countries. They're paid by Americans. That's why grocery prices have gone up, and that's why they're going to continue to go up, because most tariffs are still on a lot of grocery items and a lot of products. We're asking Donald Trump to stop these tax increases on Americans and deal with affordability, which is at the top of Americans' minds.
Questions? Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I know as chairman, you really focus on keeping, family business in-house. You often talk about having family conversations, in caucus meeting. But yesterday on the House floor, we saw,
Yet again, Democratic leadership discussing all things surrounding health care. We are expecting them to touch on the Jeffrey Epstein files, the potential for the release of those files as well. Should that happen, we'll take you back to Capitol Hill. Madeline Somerville joining us yet again as we discuss politics. It's really interesting, Madeline. You heard the Democratic leadership there speaking on health care and or concerned or the lack thereof for so many Americans. Your thoughts and or response to what they had to say?
Sure. So my particular frustration with the Republicans on this has been that the answering machine at the White House, right, during the shutdown said the Democrats are keeping the government closed because they want to give health care to illegal immigrants, the level of truth, the grain of truth that is in that, right, just as an analyst, is that 0.03% of the pot of money that we're talking about would have gone to undocumented people only in the emergency room and only in cases of an actual emergency. 99.7% of that would have gone to the 20 million Americans whose healthcare premiums are about to double. So the Republicans they tried to create a distraction, right, by focusing on something that only affected 0.03% of what was going on. And the American people didn't buy it, right? They understood because at the same time that they were being told this stuff, and some people obviously bought it, but the majority didn't, they were getting letters from the government saying your premiums are about to double. And the insurance companies will take advantage of anybody. They know how to avoid regulation. And Trump's suggestion for this Trump care that's coming out now is very interesting because it seems like it's sticking it to the insurance companies, but it actually helps them more because it deregulates it. If you get the health care savings account, right, the one that he wants to create, then the insurance companies don't have to abide by certain rules, right? They can perhaps get rid of the coverage for pre-existing conditions, or there's lots of things that are up in the air. So I think the American people have made it very clear that healthcare is what they care about, that they're not willing to let go of this as an issue, and that the Republicans are not winning on that one.
Yet again, something we will continue to keep a close eye on. Madeline Somerville, political strategist, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Well, as made mention earlier, Saudi's Crown Prince visiting the White House as I speak. The discussion will surround AI, oil, security, commerce, and nuclear energy. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Jonathan Strum, former Georgetown professor of Israeli law and Middle East affairs. Str Strum, good to see you, and thank you so much for joining us right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Do we have Mr. Strum? All right. Apparently, we're having a little issue, technical issue with regard to getting Mr. Strum. Let's do this. Let's take you back to Capitol Hill, where Democratic leadership, yet again, addressing a number of things. In this case, well, we're discussing health care, and we're also thinking about everything surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. We'll take you back to Capitol Hill.
Smarter than that. The American people see through that. And we will continue to talk about the affordability crisis that this president has perpetuated. Not inherited. He has perpetuated this by adding costs, adding tariffs to the American people. That is real. That is not theoretical. He is placing these costs on the American people and then taking a small portion of the revenue that's raised and trying to give it to farmers to not be upset with him, or potentially, as you're talking about, giving it directly to the American people to hope that they thank him for it after fleecing them for the past 10 months.
Eleanor?
What do you make of the reception that the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince is getting in Washington this week? And are Democrats at all concerned about having more nuclear cooperation with Saudi Arabia?
Look, we look forward to further cooperation with countries and appreciate hosting world leaders to the Capitol and to D.C. There are concerns that have been raised in the past, and I don't think that we should, whitewash some of those concerns. So I appreciate that the Senate is having meetings potentially, and I know there are meetings in the House potentially tomorrow. This should serve as an opportunity to work with world leaders on issues that we agree with, while not ignoring issues and concerns that we have between our countries. But I hope that we can continue to have positive dialogue that includes not just the executive, but the first branch of government.
Nick. I want to ask about discharge petitions, since you have some experience with that. What is it about this Congress that is making discharge petitions more successful?
It's a good question. I'm not gonna give you the secret sauce of how a discharge petition becomes successful, but I think that you have to have kind of a strength and resolve among those members advocating for it. Obviously, in a bipartisan nature, if you want to be successful, have a bipartisan group of members leading something who have a working relationship with each other, but also have the credibility to reach out to their colleagues to talk about delivering a solution. But I don't think it's lost on us that some of these discharge petitions moving forward are advocated by folks who just made significant health care cuts, and now they are trying to get right by their voters and their folks. I understand that. I understand there's different viewpoints, and some of these pieces of legislation have a lot in them. But we should be very clear with the American people that Republicans, lock, stock, and barrel, have voted for the largest cut to health care across the country. And so sending a letter to the speaker or putting out a press release or leading on a discharge petition doesn't inoculate you from the votes that you've made to cut health care from people. You may be trying to solve one piece of this, but that doesn't gloss over your voting record, and it's our job to tell that truth to folks.
My view of why there's been so many discharge petitions and successful ones is because of failed Republican House leadership. A discharge petition is an end run around the speaker and around Republican leadership. And when Republican leadership is protecting pedophiles, you're going to have Democrats, Republicans going, that's insane. You cannot do that. And that's why this discharge petition was successful. And because Republican House leadership is out of step with the overwhelming majority of the American people, that's why you're seeing these discharge petitions being filed and why some of them are succeeding.
Thank you. I wanted to ask the House, I know neither of you are on this committee, but the House Administration Committee is holding a hearing on the Stock Act. Do you think that act that was passed in 2012 has done enough to curb public sentiment about concerns about insider trading among Congress? And then in the Senate, Senator Hawley, along with Senator Ossoff and Peters, co-sponsored the Pelosi Act. Do you think that would be something House Democrats would be willing to take up if it were to get to the House?
We need more transparency. We need more accountability. We need more legislation specific to dealing with members who have been trading stocks. There are members who sit in committees. This is all public record, who have been sitting in committees and then trading stocks. Some of them campaigned on not wanting to do this and then have gone and done this hundreds of times. There needs to be more legislation in this regard. House Democrats, I'm not aware of anything that House Republicans have put out that have indicated that they support a ban on stock trading. House Democrats did put that out. Before the August work period, we put out documents talking about an affirmative agenda, talking about the culture of corruption, talking about the affordability crisis and the healthcare crisis that we're in. And the single piece of legislation that was mentioned was addressing this issue. So this is something that is serious for our caucus, and it'll take serious legislation in order to do it. That doesn't mean that there's a monopoly on one issue or one idea or one piece of legislation that gets there. This is why we have hearings, and this is why, if we truly want a bipartisan effort, then it's on Republicans to work with us in order to solve this issue.
I support a ban on members of Congress trading individual stocks. I also think people need to look at the President of the United States. It is massive corruption going on in the White House. The Swiss basically gave him a personalized gold bar. The country of Qatar gave him a used jumbo jet. You've got his family making huge amounts of money off of crypto, and the president pardoned a criminal because that person was with a company that helps his family with crypto. The amount of corruption in the White House is insane, unconscionable levels. And in addition to the Stock Act, we need to look at putting some real serious ethics into the White House.
And I'd also offer the Supreme Court. This can't just be something that affects Congress. We have to look at the executive branch as well as an enforceable code of conduct for the Supreme Court as well. Cassie?
I wanted to ask, kind of piggybacking off of Nick's question about discharge petitions. You know, obviously today we will have this vote on the Epstein files and releasing them. Republican leadership now saying that they aren't whipping one way or another, saying that members can vote their conscience after Democrats have accused them of canceling votes and sending the House home so that this vote couldn't be taken earlier, not swearing in Adelita Grijalva. So what do you make of this about face, and do you directly correlate it with the president's about face on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of them feel the same way. I mean, this is about them knowing that they're going to lose. They're going to lose this vote. They could not convince Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert from the Situation Room. They could not convince them to remove their signatures, so they are shifting strategies. Now they have to embrace it because they're going to lose this issue, and they weren't going to lose by a little. They were going to lose by a lot. And I think the president, clearly doesn't want to be viewed as a lame duck or on the losing side of an issue with the Republican conference. And Republicans are probably tired of having to defend the pedophilia that Jeffrey Epstein stood for. And so I think it's clear that their only reason why they're doing this is because they were losing, and so now they're going to try to project that they don't care or that they aren't pushing members. They pushed members. They sent us all home in September. Those are just the facts. They avoided this issue. They avoided this vote for so long. They can't suddenly turn the page and say, "Oh, we're fine with this. We were just kidding." And oh, by the way, let's make it about the policy. And if the president wanted to put the Epstein files out, he could do that tomorrow. He is choosing not to. He is also choosing to have his Department of Justice not answer a lawful subpoena by Democrats and Republicans who voted in the Government Oversight and Reform to send documents to that committee. So the president has made choices here. No public statements, no tweets or anything is going to hide the fact that he himself actively does not want these files out. And the American people are going to get to judge why that is. Likely because his name's already been listed over 1,000 times on the emails that have been released. So that's one of the reasons why he doesn't want this out.
Chairman Aguilar is absolutely right that the president doesn't want these files out, and one reason we know that is because the president can order these files to be released right now. It's very clear that the Department of Justice acts as Donald Trump's lapdog. He says jump, they say how high, and they've done everything of his bidding. He could just tell the Attorney General to release the files, and she would do it. So the fact that he hasn't done that shows that he is just playing a game. He doesn't really want these files to be released. And the other reason that the discharge petition succeeded and that Speaker Johnson and the president appear to have reversed is because Republicans got their asses kicked earlier this month in the elections. Democrats didn't just win in blue states like Virginia and California and New Jersey. Democrats won in every state in which there was an election: Georgia, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, Maine. And the Republicans have noticed, and now you see more Republicans standing up to Donald Trump, who is now a weight and anchor on the Republican Party, and you see Republicans showing more courage to stand up for the American people to finally do the right thing.
Rep. Andy Harris this morning said that the House Freedom Caucus will be introducing a censure against Delegate Stacey Plaskett over her ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Your response to questions about Democratic ties to him?
All of the documents should be released, and nobody should have anything to hide. Democratic members of Congress, namely the President of the United States, everybody should embrace these documents being out there. We would encourage our members to take that position. It's interesting now that Republicans want to try to find a way to use this issue after spending months talking negatively about these files. But we're not new to the duplicity of Andy Harris here.
President Trump recently said that he doesn't mind the legislation on additional sanctions on Russia to be passed. Do you consider voting for it anytime soon?
We've supported strong sanctions on Russia in the past. We think that there is space and opportunity to continue to try to stop Russian aggression through economic means and sanctions. That continues to be a view that is widely held on our side. Republicans have had a tough time wrapping their head around this because the president has embraced this, and then he said, no, stop, we're going to, because he's wants to cozy up to Putin himself. So I think the Republicans are better equipped to ask why the whipsaw of yes and no on this issue. House Democrats would support and look over anything that moves the needle to offer support to Ukrainian people and to put real screws to what Russia is doing on the economic side. So that continues to be a view that is widely held. We'll see if Republicans advance something that has support.
The only way to end the Ukraine-Russia conflict is to stop Vladimir Putin. And you can do that by defeating his troops on the battlefield. You can do that by increasing pressure economically through sanctions. And the United States and Europe should be doing all of that. Because it should be obvious over the years, you're not going to get Putin to the negotiating table unless he is stopped. And that's why we need to give Ukraine maximum support.
Thank you.
Yet again, Democratic House leadership discussing all things from health care to the potential release of the Epstein files. We are expecting to get a vote sometime later this afternoon, beginning at 2:30. We should have more information surrounding just that. All that as President Trump is currently meeting with Saudi's Crown Prince. It's the first visit by the Crown Prince since 2018, the killing of a Saudi journalist. Joining us to discuss how the meeting will likely play out is Mr. Jonathan Strum, former Georgetown professor of Israeli law in Middle East affairs. He joins us yet again on the Live Zone. Jonathan, thank you so much for being patient, sir, and welcome to the show. Jonathan, I can't hear you, so let's see here. Let's see if we could click on your mute button to make sure that we can hear you loud and clear. Want to folks be able to get a chance to hear any and everything that you have to say. If not, no worries. We'll take a quick break and make sure that we can get the audio set up for you. You're watching the Fox 5 Live Zone, guys. We'll be right back. All right, folks, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 12:29. We are going to take you down to the White House, where President Donald Trump is sitting down with Saudi Crown Prince. This topic of discussion surrounding all things AI. The pair are also expected to discuss potential investments. Let's go ahead and take a live look in as yet again President Trump now sitting down with the Saudi Crown Prince.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. We have a extremely respected man in the Oval Office today, and a friend of mine for a long time, a very good friend of mine. And I'm very proud of the job he's done. What he's done is incredible in terms of human rights and everything else. And he's the Crown Prince, the future king, and I just want to pay my greatest respect to your father, King, who is an amazing man. I met him early on. He greeted me at the airport at an age that was pretty high up there, and it was about 117 degrees, and he was standing on the red carpet as I came out of the plane, and he's amazing. And when I met his brilliant son, it was at the Oval Office. Shortly thereafter, you came in representing the country, and I called the father. I said, "This guy is fantastic." And I don't know if that helped you or hurt you, but obviously it couldn't have hurt too much, because here you are, right? So we had a great meeting, and the office has changed quite a bit, and we inherited a mess. You actually told me you thought the country was in big trouble. I'm not going to use the exact word that you use. I refuse to say that you thought our country was dead a year and a half, 2 years ago, but our country was in trouble, and now we have the hottest country in the world. You said that also. And we do. We have the United States is right now the hottest country in the world. And between the tariffs and the election, November 5th election, we've done things that nobody can believe. $21 trillion will be the amount invested in the United States or committed to invest in 1 year. So I'm here 9 months. We're up to almost $18 trillion. Biden, as an example, the Biden administration, if you call it that, it's not, to me, it was the Biden lack of administration. They were less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We're going to be $21 trillion for 1 year. I think that's hard to believe. The biggest in history was a certain country, $3 trillion. We're going to be $21 trillion. On top of that, prices are coming down. We inherited a mess with high prices. The worst inflation in the history of our country. We had inflation that was a single 4 years, the worst inflation in the history of the United States. Gas prices through the roof, and that's after destroying our petroleum reserve, which was meant for wars and big emergencies, not to try and win an election. They opened up the reserve so that people get $3 less in gasoline, and it didn't work. They got about 3 cents less, because as big as those reserves are, they're peanuts when you're talking about that kind of traffic. And we're rebuilding the reserves. We're doing all of this, and we've done a job. We're also bringing down prices very substantially, and we've already brought them down very, very substantially. Gasoline is way down. I think you'll be seeing $2 gasoline, but we're now at $2.50, $2.45. Some are lower than that. It was $4.50, $5, $6, $3.50, $3.75. Under Biden, all different numbers, but way high. And we have energy way down. But the biggest thing to me, because I know what it means in jobs, is the fact that we're at over $17 trillion, Scott, and we expect to be around $21 trillion in 1 year. And that's many times bigger than, in history, the highest number was $3 trillion. And we're going to be at $21 trillion. That means new plants, new AI, new auto plants. We have auto plants coming in from Canada, from Mexico, from Germany, from Japan. Toyota just agreed to invest $10 billion on new auto plants, all American workers. We've never been in a position like this. You can go back to the beginning. Our country has never been in a position like this, and it really is because of the fact that we use tariffs to bring all this money in. And you're going to see the results in a year when these plants start to open up. We have more plants under construction now than at any time in the history of our country. And these are big plants. These are the biggest plants anywhere in the world. And I want to thank you because you've agreed to invest $600 billion into the United States. And because he's my friend, he might make it $1 trillion, but I'm going to have to work on him. But it's 600. We can count on 600 billion. But that number could go up a little bit higher, yes, sir. I don't know. We'll see. But we appreciate it very much. So Saudi is going to be investing at least $600 billion, and that means investments in plants, in companies, money on Wall Street, and what it really means for everybody that really counts is jobs, a lot of jobs. We have a lot of jobs. So I just want to thank you. We've been really good friends for a long period of time. We've always been on the same side of every issue. I think we've done a great job in wiping out the nuclear capacity of Iran. Nobody else could have done that. No other president would have done it. We had the pilots in the Oval Office right here. We were celebrating a very successful attack. So I had them in with that beautiful B-2 bomber that's over there. And they said, sir, for 22 years, we practiced this attack. Our predecessors, these were very young guys, so 22 years, they said our predecessors and us practiced the attack on Iran, but no president ever gave us the go-ahead. 3 times a year they went out and they practiced the attack. Nobody let us do it until you came along, and I let them do it because it was the right thing to do. You can't have a nuclear Iran. And so we put you in a very good position. But I just want to say it's an honor to be your friend, and it's an honor that you're here. And if you'd like to say a few words, but thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This relation has been a relation for about 9 decades, and we've been working together for a long time. But today it's a very important time in our history because there is also a lot of things that we're working in the future. We believe in the future of the United States of America. We believe in what you're doing, Mr. President, really creating a lot of good things and good foundation to create more economic growth, more business in America. And it will also your work for the world peace. I believe, Mr. President, today and tomorrow we're going to announce that we are going to increase that $600 billion to almost $1 trillion of investment, real investment and real opportunity by details in many areas. And the agreement that we are signing today in many areas in technology, in AI, in rare earth materials, magnet, etc., that will create a lot of investment opportunities.
So you are doing that now. You're saying to me now that the $600 billion will be $1 trillion.
Definitely, because what we are signing, it will facilitate that. And
I like that very much.
He works hard.
No, that's great. I appreciate that. That's great. We're doing numbers that nobody's ever done. And in all fairness, if you didn't see potential in the U.S., you wouldn't be doing that.
Definitely.
You don't want to lose money.
As you said, Mr. President, it's the most hottest country in the planet. But what you're creating is not about opportunity today. It's about also long-term opportunity in the United States of America that will affect American economy positively in the next coming decades. Preparing the right foundation of emerging technologies, that's a game changer for America in a good way, and we want to be part of it.
Yeah, we're doing really well. And this, you don't see what we're doing so much because we have, although the construction industry sees it. If you look at Caterpillar, who's been incredible, the tractors, everything else, the numbers that we're doing in construction are unbelievable. Some of the plants that we're building, AI, and they're building their own electric with the plant. I gave them the right to build their own electric with the plant because no country, frankly, will have this. China's working very hard to produce enough electric, but we're beating China substantially at AI, which is a big thing. And we had a great meeting 2 weeks ago with President Xi, but on AI, we're doing well. And I have a man, David Rommel.
Yes, sir.
David, could you say a few words about what you're seeing on the job front and all of the some of the assets, and also how we've been helped by the Saudis in terms of the kind of investment they've made, please.
Yeah, most certainly. Thank you for the opportunity. I am a facility leader for GE Vernova, and if you look at the landscape for GE Vernova investment, over $750 million in the U.S. focused on true manufacturing jobs here stateside. We're looking at tripling the output of our Greenville, South Carolina facility, where we make the gas turbines that are supporting U.S. needs as well as the Saudi Arabia needs.
Right.
So real jobs, $300 million in gas investment, resulting in over 500 pieces of new equipment being installed in the Greenville, South Carolina facility. That translates into roughly 1,800 jobs across the board for GE Vernova as we try to scale capacity to be able to meet this demand. Along with that, we're partnering with local communities to build the skill set that's required to meet these capacity needs. So that talent pipeline is incredibly important. So it's real jobs in the manufacturing space.
Well, you've been great, and thank you very much. And we love that state. I won that state by record numbers. I won a lot of states by record. Texas, a lot of them by Indiana. We're working with Indiana or something right now. We won that. We won a lot of them by records, but that was one of them. I want to thank you very much. Say hello to everybody. Great job. You're doing a great job. Thank you. So, just in wrapping up, we'll take a couple of questions, but I want to just tell you what an honor it is to be your friend, and I very much appreciate the investment of now $1 trillion, okay? I'm glad you got that out. I didn't want to be the one to tell them, but that's great news.
We keep increasing, Mr. President.
I know.
Each time the opportunities are just increasing more and more.
Well, the opportunities, right? We're doing better. If even if you look back 6 months ago, I mean, now all of a sudden you feel even better. So, and I think we're only going to go in one way. Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. President, have you approved the export licenses for advanced chips to Saudi Arabia? The export licenses?
We are working on that. We're negotiating that right now. Marco, do you want to talk about that, or Scott?
Well, I mean, that's part of what we may have announcements on that later today. But that's what we've been working on is the mechanics by which something like that could be achieved, and it's part of the broader process, part of this broader engagement and cooperation between our two countries.
Certain levels of chips. Yeah.
And for the Crown Prince, Your Royal Highness, you're talking about $1 trillion of investment. Could the kingdom continue to do that with oil prices in the mid-60s?
Yeah, we are not creating fake opportunities to, please America or please President Trump. It's real opportunities. For example, when you ask about the AI and the chips, Saudi Arabia have a huge demand a huge need of computing power, and we're going to spend in the short term around $50 billion by consuming those semiconductors for our needs in Saudi Arabia. And with the agreement that we're going to have with North America, that will allow us to focus that consuming power in the short term by $50 billion from the South America, and long term with hundreds of $billions in the long term. So there is a lot of real opportunities that fit to our need in Saudi Arabia and fit to our investment strategy.
Mr. President, is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the
But the
worst.
question is
One of the
legitimate,
worst
sir.
in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. That's what we've done. We've built a tremendous business for a long time. I've been very successful. I decided to leave that success behind and make America very successful. And I've made America more successful by far than it ever was, and that it ever could have been, no matter who was president. There would be nobody bringing in $21 trillion, that I can tell you right now. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Just you ask, Mr. President, if you allow me to answer. I feel painful about the families of 9/11 in America, but we have to focus on reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden, he used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation, to destroy the American-Saudi relation. That's the purpose of 9/11. So whoever buy in that means they are helping Osama bin Laden's purpose of destroying this relation. He knows that strong relation between America and Saudi Arabia, it's bad for extremism, it's bad for terrorism. And we have to approve him wrong and to build our relation, continue developing our relation. It's critical in the safety of the world. It's critical against extremism and terrorism. About the journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for, no real purpose or not in a legal way. And it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc. in Saudi Arabia. and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that, and it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. The Crown Prince has been instrumental in helping lifting the sanctions on Syria. Will there be any joint investment between the U.S. and Syria? And will you visit Damascus?
Are you from Syria?
No, but
Where are you from?
I'm from Palestine.
Oh, making a lot of progress, huh? Very good. Well, they like me. The Palestinians like me. The Palestinians are doing very well, actually. I think we're working very closely with a lot of people to make everybody happy, including Israel, the Palestinians, and everybody. That's very interesting. No, I think that I will tell you, the Crown Prince called me, and he specifically asked me if I would lift the sanctions on Syria, because he wants to see Syria make it. As you know, the leader of Syria was just here, and we had a great meeting, and he's a strong guy, and I guess you need a strong person to run it, and I think Syria's made tremendous progress. We did lift the sanctions at the request of the Crown Prince. Also, the president of Turkey, Erdogan, called me specifically. He said, you know, if you don't lift the sanctions, Syria doesn't have a chance. If you do, they have a very good chance. And between the two of them and some others, I lifted the sanctions. And the results so far have been pretty good.
Mr. President, can I ask you a question about the F-35s that are being sold to Saudi Arabia? Are these the same ones that are being used by the Israeli military? And if so, how does that allow for the qualitative military edge for Israel? And then I want to ask you, because you brought up the plight of the Palestinians, are you aware of relocation flights to South Africa that are taking place right now?
Which flights?
There are relocation flights that are taking place. Some Palestinians are being charged up to $2,000
I'm not going to South Africa for the G20 because I think their policies on the extermination of people are unacceptable. So I'm not going, so I won't refer to anything having to do with South Africa. South Africa has behaved extremely badly. But I will say that when you look at the F-35 and you're asking me, is it the same? I think it's going to be pretty similar, yeah. You know,
how will that
this is a great ally, and Israel's a great ally. And I know they'd like you to get planes of reduced caliber. I don't think that makes you too happy. They've been a great ally. Israel's been a great ally. And we're looking at that exactly right now. But as far as I'm concerned, I think they are both at a level where they should get top of the line. Yes, please.
Can I just ask for the Crown Prince, if I could just ask about the direct talks between U.S.
It's all right. Steve, 1 second. Go ahead.
Have you reached an agreement on a U.S.-Saudi defense treaty today? And are you going to bring up the Abraham Accords in your discussion?
I already brought them up.
What did you say?
I think I got a positive response. Would you like to respond?
Yeah, so definitely we believe having a good relation with all Middle Eastern countries is a good thing, and we want to be part of the Ibrahim Accord, but we want also to be sure that we secure a clear path of two-state solution. And today we have a healthy discussion with Mr. President that we're going to work on that to be sure that we can prepare the right situation as soon as possible to have that.
I think we're, you know, I don't want to use the word commitment, but we've had a very good talk on the Abraham Accords. We talked about one state, two state. You know, we talked about a lot of things in a short period of time. We'll be discussing it further too. But I think you have a very good feeling toward the Abraham Accords.
Yes, definitely, Mr. President. We want peace for the Israelis. We want peace for the Palestinians. We want them to coexist peacefully in the region, and we will do our best to reach that day.
And the defense agreement, have you reached agreement on that?
We pretty much have.
Question for the Crown Prince, if I could just finish.
We have reached agreement on that.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about the direct talks between the United States and Iran. Have you been fully briefed on that, and are you concerned at all about how this might impact Saudi security interests?
Well, we are close ally. We'll be working closely together on that issue, and we will do our best to help to reach a deal between the United States of America and Iran, and we believe it's good for Iran's future to have a good deal that will satisfy the region and the world and the United States of America. So we will do our best to see that day happen.
And by the way, Iran does want to make a deal. I can say I think they very badly want to make a deal. I am totally open to it, and we're talking to them, and we start a process. but it would be a nice thing to have a deal with Iran, and we could have done it before the war, but that didn't work out. And something will happen there, I think. But they would very much like, I mean, they may say something else, but they would very much like to have a deal.
Mr. President, you announced that you are going to sell 35 F-35 jets. You are planning, you said you are planning to sell the F-35 jets to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Is it part of the security agreement? And how you assess the defense partnership between Saudi Arabia and the United States? And the question was...
Well, I just said it, though. I mean, we're going to sell them F-35s. That's the end of the question, I guess.
Is it part of the security agreement or no?
No, we're going to have a deal. They're going to purchase F-35s. They're buying them from Lockheed, and it's a great plane. We make, by the way, the best military equipment. You saw that during the Iran little skirmish. We make the best planes, the best missiles. We make the best offensive missiles. We make the best military equipment in the world.
Nice. For His Royal Highness, I would like to ask you about how you see the cooperation between the United States and Saudi Arabia in the advanced technological field, especially AI, and how it will support Saudi Arabia to serve its goals to achieve the vision of 2030.
Well, I will try to answer that in short, but definitely there's a lot of interest in many industries between Saudi Arabia and America, and we are signing a lot of agreements in different areas that will really add value to American economy, but also to add value to us in Saudi Arabia. And AI, it's critical for us because one of the long-term problems that we could have is lack of workforce. As you've seen in the past few years, some of them have reached 30% of the global immigration to Saudi Arabia. So we know that to assure the Saudi Arabia GDP growing with the lack of workforce that we have, we need to use a lot of computing power to replace job in the long term. So that's huge demand in Saudi Arabia, and we want to link it to American private sectors and getting the supply from America. So there's a lot of opportunities in that area.
And we're also involved in AI in Saudi Arabia. So we're working, and we're leading by a lot on AI. Actually a lot. China would be in second place, but we're leading by a lot. And I have to say this, and our relationship with China has been very good. And as far as buying our farm products, they're pretty much on schedule, Scott. I'd like you to call them, say if they could speed it up, it would be good. Okay, but they're pretty much on schedule.
Please. If I may, I have a question for both the Crown Prince and President.
Who are you?
I'm Faisal Abbas from Arab News, Saudi Arabia, Your Excellency.
It should be a friendly question.
Your Royal Highness, just picking up on something you just mentioned about how some people try to destroy the relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States. Perhaps, since the launch of the vision, we've been used to having the bigger picture and that everything fits into the bigger picture. Might you want to elaborate a little bit about where is the relationship, the bilateral relationship, the strategic partnership between Saudi Arabia and the United States heading, and what's the big picture there?
Well, I don't think it's a relation that we can replace it from the Saudi side or the American side. It's a critical relationship for our political attempt, for our economical attempt, for our security, for our military, for many things. And it has been there for 9 decades. And the opportunities that we have today, it's huge. And seems that it's going to get deeper in the next few decades. And what we are having today and tomorrow with President Trump, it's really a huge new chapter in this relation that will add value to both of us.
You know, when you think about it, I'm just sitting here. You're with the future king, a man who's respected by everybody, a man that doesn't have to be doing this, really. I don't have to be doing it either. And yet we're sitting here taking questions, we didn't say, oh, you can't talk about this. And there's never been transparency like this, even in his country, but there's never been, in our country, that's been acknowledged. But we didn't put restrictions, and I'm saying it's sort of wonderful to be taking questions from all over the world. Everybody's here. This is just a small group representative of tremendous numbers of media that are outside, that are very jealous that these people were so selected. But they're representing a lot of people that are outside. I think it's terrific that we could be sitting here being this open, and I think it's really a wonderful thing.
If you don't mind, I have a personal question for you.
Okay, here we go. I should have said that.
So apart from everything you mentioned in your opening remarks, you forgot to mention that you've de-escalated 7 wars since you started. At least in our part of the world, you are seen as a peacemaker. And adding that to all the executive orders and everything else you've mentioned, I really have to wonder, in your speech in Saudi Arabia, I was there, you said that His Royal Highness does not sleep at night thinking how he does things better. We wonder in Saudi Arabia, how do you manage your own time, and what's your formula for managing?
He does not sleep much, and I don't sleep much. I think we have the same schedule. We're thinking about our countries, and if you sleep a lot and you're president, we just had one that slept more than any president. He broke every record. He sleeps all the time, during the day, during the night, on the beach. The only guy could fall asleep on the beach with the press watching. No, he's not a sleeper. I'm not a sleeper. We don't. We talk at night. We can talk. I can call him almost any time. He goes, "Hi, how you doing?" It's like the craziest times. But now, when you love your job, when you love your country, and when you're in a position like we are, future king, highly respected, crown prince, and in my case, president, you're thinking about your country. You're thinking about making America great again. We're thinking about keeping Saudi Arabia strong and vital, and in a pretty tough part of the world, tricky part, right? Tricky part, a lot of tricky people. But he thinks about his country, and I think about my country. I don't want to sleep.
President Trump, do you expect a formal civil nuclear deal to be reached soon? Can you talk to us about that aspect
With
of
who?
today's, with Saudi Arabia?
I can see that happening. Yeah.
Do you think that an agreement will happen today?
It's not urgent. You know, it's always when you have civil nuclear, but you have more oil than almost anybody else. We actually have more oil and gas than they do, but I refuse to say that.
And
We have more than we have more than anybody. Can you imagine?
And on the F-35s, are those sales? Israel had reportedly wanted those sales to be conditioned on Saudi Arabia moving to normalized
Israel
relations.
will be happy. Israel is going to be
Is that a
happy.
condition of the F-35?
Israel's aware, and they're going to be very happy. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, please. Hello.
Hi, hello. My name is Aman Hazani from Sharq al-Awsat newspaper, from Riyadh, of course. I have a question for the Crown Prince and for you, Mr. President. Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, how much you expected from developing the cooperation with the United States in the field of new energy, AI, supply chain? How much you expected from that?
No limit. We just continue pushing forward. There's no limit. So we just push forward for all the opportunities that we have.
You have to understand, this is really a great ally. Just the fact that they're now doing, I came in here at 6, I did not know that. I was pushing for the 1 trillion, but he didn't tell me that. Now he told me. This is a great ally of ours. You know, when you invest $1 trillion, that's national security for us too, because it creates jobs, it creates a lot of things. And I would say, Scott, right, when you hear one country is putting $1 trillion into the United States, that creates national security. And, you know, I think that they don't have to say that, but I think a big part of that is also the fact that tariffs are in play. But even beyond tariffs, that's a real ally that will do that. Creates a lot of power for the United States.
Mr. President, we are also in Saudi Arabia very happy because this much of Saudi money is a function here, and of course it's come back for us for benefits. So it's complementary interest. So this is the I think what's the difference the friends and ally do.
Well, look, I love the country of Saudi Arabia. I know the people very well. The level of treatment that we go when we go to Saudi Arabia is something that is incredible. And the people like us, and I think they really like America, especially when I'm president. I mean, I don't think they liked America so much maybe for 4 years recently. I think Obama treated Saudi Arabia very, very badly, as you know. And I think Biden didn't have any idea where the hell he was. I don't think Biden knew the difference.
How would you describe the future relationship with Saudi Arabia? I mean, from the strategic aspects. How would you describe that?
The relationship is with?
Yeah, the of economic.
I would say top of the line.
relationship.
It's as good as it can. I don't think it can get much better. We have a country that trusts us, and that's why they make that investment. If they didn't trust us, they couldn't make that investment. And we trust them. They've been very reliable. Now, I rebuilt our military in my first term, and we spent trillions of dollars, and we gave away some of it in Afghanistan stupidly because we had stupid people running our country. But we gave away, but that's, as much as it was, it's a tiny fraction of what we put here. And we're bringing our military to a new level, the highest level ever. We have those plants are going out. And again, it's all American jobs and everything, so it's good for a lot of reasons. But as far as Saudi is concerned, no, I don't think our relationship could be better. I don't think they had a great relationship under Biden, and I don't think they had a great relationship under Obama. But they have a great relationship under Trump. When we did the presidential Walk of Fame, you saw that, right? And we're walking, and I asked the Crown Prince, so outside of Trump, because I blow everyone away, who was the best president for Saudi Arabia? And you could, maybe, it's an interesting answer, I don't know.
Roosevelt, who started it, which is a Democrat, and Reagan, he's one of the historical presidents that have close ties with Saudi Arabia. But we've worked with all presidents.
Does Trump blow them all away?
No, it's another league, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
and Trump doesn't give a fist pump. I grabbed that hand. I don't give a hell where that hand's been. I grabbed that hand. Remember Biden? He travels for 20 hours, gets out, and he gives a fist bump. No. When you get out of the plane and you got the future king and the man who's one of the most respected people in the world, you shake his hand. You don't give him a fist bump, right? We don't want to ask you about that, but I can't imagine you were thrilled. You were like a little bit surprised. He's a fantastic guy. You don't do that. Yeah, please.
We're getting closer to the end of the year. Have you started the interviews for the Fed chair?
Yes.
Who have you interviewed?
I think I already know my choice.
Who is it?
Well, I liked him, but he's not going to take the job. He refused. You like Treasury better, right?
Much better, sir.
So we are talking to various people, and frankly, I'd love to get the guy currently in there out right now. But people are holding me back. He's done a terrible job, hurting housing a little bit. The truth is, we've been so successful, we've blown past his interest rate stupidity. He's been wrong. That's why I call him too late. He's too late. Jerome Too Late Powell. He was recommended to me by a guy that made a bad choice, and it's too bad. But despite that, it's having very little impact because we have all of these things happening. But it has an impact on housing to a certain extent. He's a fool. He's a stupid man. But we have some very good people.
Yes, sir. You'll be sitting down with them in the near future, and
we have some surprising names, and we have some standard names that everybody's talking about. And we may go the standard way. It's nice to every once in a while go politically correct. But we have some great names. Steve,
Have
please.
you talked to President Maduro of Venezuela yet? Or are you still open to that?
He wants to talk.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm open to talk. I talk to everybody. But no, he wants to. They treated us very badly. They sent all of their prison population into the United States, and we're getting them out rapidly. But he sent all of his, and he sends drugs into the United States and other things. No, he treated us badly. Bad president, and he was able to get away. We have now, I think we have the strongest borders anywhere in the world. Nobody's coming in unless they come in legally. We've taken very weak borders where millions of people came in. For the last 6 months, I don't do these reports. They say 0 people have been able to come in. Is that pretty good?
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
It's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. They're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people. You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today. It's a hoax. Now, I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, zero, no money to me, but he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax, and ABC's your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it out?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that, because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible and you're not credible as a reporter. So I've answered your question. You should go and look at the Democrats who received money from Epstein, who spent their time. Larry Summers was with him all the time. That creep of the fund guy was with him all the time. What's his name?
Reid Hoffman.
Who? Reid Hoffman. I don't know Reid Hoffman, but I know he spends a lot of money on the radical left. Reid Hoffman, in my opinion, should be under investigation. He's a sleazebag. And those are the people, but they don't get any press, they don't get any news, and you're not after the radical left because you're a radical left network. But I think the way you ask a question with the anger and the meanness is terrible. You ought to go back and learn how to be a reporter. No more questions from you. Who else has a question?
Prince, very quickly, I want to ask you, how much money is Saudi Arabia giving for Gaza reconstruction?
We are in discussion about that. Still, there is no amount being
It'll be a lot.
named, but we will definitely help.
Yeah, he's going to, it's very important to him.
And a quick follow-up, the International Security Force, given your pledge there would be no U.S. boots on the ground, what is the U.S. role going to be in that? And how do you sort of ratify the allegations that this could undermine Palestinian sovereignty and even the path to statehood?
Look, I think we're going to get along great with the Palestinians, and we know their leadership. We just had a very, you hate to say war, but it was a war. Very, very successful. And you could say really it was on behalf of everybody. We did that on behalf of everybody. And the outcome was extraordinary because we had the best pilots, the best equipment, the best planes, the best everything. And Israel bought the best equipment. They bought it from us. Everything's from us. It all starts here. This office, I was talking to the Crown Prince a little while. You walk into this office, for somebody from the outside, the Oval Office, it's the most powerful place in the world. You're standing right now in the most powerful place in the world. And no matter how big you are, these are the biggest people, the richest people. They walk into this office. It's special, isn't it? Look at him. He's so happy to be here. But you walk into this office. It's the Oval Office. And we've done a lot of good with this office. I've stopped actually 8 wars. I appreciated your question before. But I've actually stopped 8 wars. I have another one to go with Putin. I'm a little surprised at Putin. It's taken longer than I thought. But we stopped India and Pakistan. I could go through the list. You know the list better than I do. I'm very proud. And I stopped one that was almost ready to start again. You know, there was one that was ready to start. And they're doing very well. So and it all took place right here in the Oval Office, whether by telephone or whether by they came in. Many of these leaders have come in, and they signed their peace deals right here in the Oval Office. So no matter if it's the biggest business people in the world or the greatest leaders in the world, the biggest leaders in the world, like the gentleman on my right, everybody walks into the Oval Office and they say, wow. And now, by the way, the Oval Office is in the kind of condition that it should be in. Whether you look at the walk or the marble floors or anything down the road, we're fixing the White House. And we're building one of the greatest ballrooms ever to be built. We have an event tonight, and we're going to have about 118 people because we have a very small room. For 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom, and now you're going to get a great ballroom. And I have to say, I probably made a lot of enemies because in your honor, we're having a dinner tonight, a beautiful dinner tonight, and we have a very small room, right? It's called the East Room, and it's beautiful, it's lovely, but it's like for a little cocktail before you go into a ballroom. It's a very small room. They've wanted a new ballroom for 150 years. We could have sold the big ballroom out 3 times in honor of this gentleman. So I made a lot of enemies because I have a lot of people that are invited tonight or are unable to come because of the size constraint. But you know what we'll do before I leave office? We'll have another dinner because we'll have it ready long before I leave office, and it's going to be beautiful. It's it's a very popular thing what we're doing. And by the way, no government funds. It's all put up private money, all private money. And in the case, I think it's there's a restriction on foreigners. Otherwise, I could have asked you just for a check, okay? But there's a restriction. These are all private individuals that put up a lot of money to build the ballroom. Not one penny is being used from the federal government. So it's really a nice thing. But I look forward to it. I just pointed it out. If this would be a perfect night to have that ballroom open, Susie. If we had that open, we'd have a lot of people very happy. Right now, we have a lot of unhappy people because they all want to be with us tonight to honor this great man. Thank you all very much.
There you have it. President Trump sitting down with the Saudi Crown Prince. The president stating that he's looking forward to the Saudi Crown Prince investing in America to the tune of $600 billion. The prince then said, Mr. President, it will probably be to the tune of $1 trillion. The Saudi Crown Prince also stating that a new chapter is now underway that will add to the relationship. The two are now expected to discuss AI investments, and Trump may also use the meeting to push the Crown Prince on normalizing relations with Israel. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, folks, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. While SNAP benefits have been reinstated in many states, many are still waiting for full access to funds or are required to reapply. That's where the John S. Mulholland Family Foundation come into play. You see, they are providing an answer for those in the district and surrounding area who need ongoing support as they face food insecurity. Now they're getting set for a Capitol evening this upcoming Friday, the 21st at 6 p.m. at the Ritz-Carlton right here in the nation's capital. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Miss Christy Ann Rickey. She is the gala chair and kind enough to join us right here on the LZ. Miss Rickey, good to see you and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Guy. I am so grateful to be here, to have the opportunity to speak to you and your viewers. Thank you so much.
Well, we are so honored to have you, and thank you so much for being patient. I know it's been quite a long day. It's no secret, but the same people that have really been dubbed the working class are also being impacted by the government shutdown, or the one that took place, and SNAP cuts. In essence, the DMV has become ground zero for food insecurity, has it not?
Yes, absolutely. You know, we all breathed a sigh of relief when the government reopened, but what we didn't realize is that it's going to take a while for people to receive their checks. And so people, as of yet, have not received their checks. And so we are receiving tens and tens of phone calls every day with desperate asks for help. It's really, it's a situation that in the 12 years that the Mulholland Foundation has been up and running, we've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and I guess it's also fair to say that 100% it's a volunteer-run program, meaning that, yet again, you all are stepping up in a major way and could perhaps use some assistance.
Oh, that's saying it lightly. Yes, ours is a very unusual organization in that the Mulholland Foundation, the John S. Mulholland Foundation, is 100% run by volunteers. Our G&A is about 3%, so 97 cents of every dollar that we're able to raise goes directly to supporting the people in our mission.
Wow, that's a big number, and that's something that you all probably stand proud of. Not only that, but speaking of standing proud, you're going to get a chance to do just that this upcoming Saturday, as you heard me make mention, or shall I say Friday. It's the Capitol evening set to get underway. What's to be expected for those of us who have not been lucky enough to attend in the past?
Well, you know, Guy, this is really, really important to us because the Mulholland Foundation raises money only one time a year. The rest of the year, we have food drives and we're collecting food, but this is the one time of the year that we actually ask for funding. So yes, we're going to have an opportunity this Friday evening at the Ritz-Carlton to welcome 400 fantastic people. We'll have an auction and hopefully we'll raise some funds, not only to feed the people that depend on us, but also to raise money for some equipment that we're going to need going forward.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that one last time. It's no secret, but you all serve more than 1,000 families. And perhaps you could share with us a story. I tell folks all the time, I'm a storyteller and love to hear stories. Maybe you could share with us about your efforts and how it's literally been able to change someone's life.
You know, thank you for asking. And there are hundreds of stories. As I was driving into work this morning, I was thinking about the time I brought my little 7-year-old granddaughter to a pantry. And we were there, actually, we had prepared sandwiches and we were handing them out there on the street in front of our pantry. And this elderly gentleman came up. My granddaughter was outside and he asked if he could have a sandwich. She supplied it to them and they started a conversation. And the next thing you know, she finds out, my little Brielle finds out that his 3 grandchildren are in the car. Wow. And they haven't eaten. So it was my little granddaughter who said, please, please take this and bring this to your grandchildren. But you know, these are people who are working hard to make ends meet. And these are families that we strive to serve with dignity and respect. Every single person that comes to us is embraced. No one is ever turned away.
Yeah, and yet again, that's why folks need to show up and show out this upcoming Friday. Folks that want to find out more information, how would one go about to gain just that?
Please, thank you. Thank you for asking. If you would go to the mulhollandcharities.org, that's MULHOLLAND, charities.org. That first page that you come to, there's going to be a big sign that says donate, and click on that. And then take the time to go to our website. It's full of stories like the one I just told you and videos. You'll learn a lot about what we do.
Very good. Yet again, we have been speaking with Christiane Ricky. She is the gala chair for the upcoming event that's set to get underway this upcoming Friday. We truly appreciate your time, and yet again, thank you so much for being patient.
Thank you, Guy. We really, really appreciate it.
You bet.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And a happy Thanksgiving to you as well. All right, folks, if it's happening, and it's happening now, we are taking you there. In this case, Capitol Hill, where any minute now we are expecting the House to vote on all things surrounding the release of the Epstein files. Let's take a live look in.
Maybe it's to go after President Trump. Never forget, they shut down the government for 43 days. They said, don't worry about our military, don't worry about air traffic controllers, don't worry about our economy, don't worry about American families. No, no, no. Close the government for a month and a half because it might hurt the president. For the past decade, there's been one constant for Democrats. One constant. Go after Trump. They spied on his campaign. Then it was Mueller. Then it was impeachment 1. Then it was impeachment 2. Then it was all the lawfare. Alvin Bragg, Fonnie Willis, Letitia James. Then it was Arctic Frost investigation at the Justice Department, surveilling United States senators and congressmen, and a whole host of other Americans. Then it was Jack Smith and his gag orders and his raiding President Trump's home. Then it was a 43-day shutdown, and now it's Epstein. And by the way, the same party that did all that, they were also the ones who were texting with Mr. Epstein during a hearing where Michael Cohen was their witness in another effort to go after the president. Americans see through it all, and frankly, it's actually kind of sad. This obsession, this syndrome, this mindset that says we got to go after President Trump no matter what that they have. And when I think about it, I think it's because President Trump and Republicans have accomplished so much that they told the voters they were going to accomplish in the 2024 election. We're actually doing what we said we were going to do. President Trump said he was going to cut taxes, and he did. President Trump said he would secure the border, and he did. President Trump said he'd get men out of women's sports, and he did. President Trump said he would make sure Iran doesn't have nuclear capability, and he did. And he said he would get the hostages out of Gaza back into Israel, and he did. All in 9 months. So I don't know what causes this mindset, this syndrome that the left has, but I know one thing. It is real. Which brings me to last week. Think about what the Democrats did last week. The Democrats released an email that the Oversight Committee had obtained from the estate. An email from Mr. Epstein to Ms. Maxwell. When the Democrats released it, they redacted the victim's name. Something we all support. Something everyone supports. Except in this case, no court had ordered that name redacted, no agency had redacted it, and the estate didn't redact it. And the victim had already went public. So why black out her name? Why black out her name? Because she had said in her book and had testified under oath that she never saw any wrongdoing by President Trump. So think about what they did. In an email between two criminals, Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, in an email between two criminals, they hide the name of an individual who had went public and exonerated the president, and we know why. To distort and twist the message because they thought it might harm the president. Their position, cover up the names of people who are already public, but don't worry about other innocent people who the court said should remain private. Again, I think the American people see through it. They see through what the Democrats are doing. The American people know what this is. They know Democrats have nothing else to run on because of the success of this administration. So I say let's vote yes on this resolution, and then let's get focused on making sure we're doing what the American families elected us to do. With that, I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
Today, 4 months and 3 days after Mr. Khanna and Mr. Massey introduced their discharge petition, perhaps the most famous discharge petition in American history, the People's House unites across party lines to draw a moral line. We draw a line against the rape and sexual violation of children. We draw a line against the global criminal trafficking of girls and young women to service the pleasure of rich and powerful men who believe they are beyond all law and all morality. We draw a line to put the voices of the victims and the survivors first. We ask the Senate to join us without changes rather than obstruct this bill with dilatory amendments, legislative graffiti, and self-dealing million-dollar jackpot provisions for lucky senators. Just pass the bill. We're finally voting today because of a bipartisan discharge petition led by Representatives Massey and Khanna and signed by 218 of us overthrew the determined obstruction of the Speaker. This forced vote means the House will no longer acquiesce in this astonishing real-time cover-up of a multi-billion-dollar global sex trafficking and child rape ring that has ravaged the lives of more than 1,000 girls and young women. We're here today because these victims, these survivors, these citizens, these inspiring women who have come to Washington are demanding nothing less than justice and the complete truth about who is responsible for their vicious abuse, including those responsible for enabling it, ignoring it, bankrolling it, and covering it up. We join them today in rejecting any more dangerous lies about the crimes they suffered. No, child sex abuse is not a hoax. It's a crime. Human trafficking is not a hoax. It's a crime. These crimes are a curse on children and young people across America, in universities and elementary schools, in churches and mosques and synagogues, in Boy Scout troops and college sports teams and summer camps. Anywhere the powerful and the rich believe they've got the opportunity and the impunity to exploit the young, the poor, the powerless, and the vulnerable. We must face the truth and find the co-conspirators still at large in one of America's most extensive and sophisticated sex trafficking and child abuse rings in history. Release of the file will expose the role of everybody who facilitated and covered up these crimes, like J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, and Bank of New York Mellon, which executed billions of dollars in transactions related to these offenses, as well as any bank executives who participated in the sexual abuse of girls and young women. We must expose everyone who covered up these crimes, like Alex Acosta, the former U.S. attorney in Miami, Donald Trump's labor secretary, who gave Jeffrey Epstein an unbelievable sweetheart plea deal, immunized unnamed conspirators, and killed an investigation into Epstein's financial crimes that could have brought down.
Yet again, Maryland Representative Raskin discussing all things surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein files and or the potential release. The House of Representatives will vote on just that in about an hour. We'll keep a close eye with regard to what's taking place on the House floor. Meanwhile, with the holiday shopping season now shifting into high gear, Mayor Muriel Bowser is urging district residents to prioritize safe online shopping when making purchases. That's where the Office of the Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Stephen Miller, comes into play. You see, he's all about providing us with some tips to make sure you and I stay safe during this holiday season. He now joins us right here on the Live Zone. Mr. Miller, truly appreciate your patience, and thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. It's great to be here, and I appreciate you taking the time to hear what Mayor Bowser and I have to pitch. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Obviously, it's all things surrounding key cybersecurity tips. I got to tell you, as soon as I leave here, I'm going to hop on the web and perhaps buy a gift or two, but I need to make sure I'm practicing all things safety while doing so.
Yeah, we definitely want to make sure that you're doing this the right way. So Mayor Bowser and I want to make sure that your viewers and yourself and I, that we have the knowledge and the insight to shop securely through the holiday season. And that means, just kind of paying attention to what you're doing, looking at, don't click links just because you got a great deal in your inbox or a text message. Try to be responsible as you research those retailers that you want to use. And if you do find a great bargain and it is a real bargain, go for it, but do it the right way.
Not only should we do that, but perhaps we should also monitor one's account. And I got to tell you, that's something I need to do a better job.
Yeah, for sure. Monitoring your accounts regularly is going to help make sure that your banking information is secure. So if you see, if you enable real-time alerts and you see transactions happening against your bank accounts or against your credit cards, you should contact your financial institution immediately to catch that suspicious activity, because early detection is the best defense, and it helps defend the whole community that I'm trying to make sure is aware of these issues.
Yeah. You know what's interesting to me, Mr. Miller? This whole email phishing scam, if you will. It's something that's really taken not only D.C. by storm, but the nation by storm.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone gets these unexpected messages, whether it's email or whether it's text messages. These increase exponentially during the holiday season. So bad actors know that people are looking to, contact their family and find out, what kind of gifts they want. And they're looking for every deal and every gift they can find. But a retailer really isn't going to reach out to you to tell you about those deals through a random text message or a random email. So verify that the sender is authentic before you click a link or before you download an attachment. And when in doubt, just, go right to that retailer's website. Don't necessarily click on those links. So if you get a great deal that says it's from Amazon, make sure you're typing in Amazon.com, not clicking on that short link that you got in your text message or your email. And remember, if an offer seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, but wait, there's more. In this case, we're talking about credit cards versus debit cards. Now, personally, I like to use my debit card, but I have a feeling you're going to say, Guy, that's not the best thing to do.
It's not. Yeah. So unfortunately, your debit card is linked directly to your bank account and has fewer protections put in place to mitigate fraud or to enhance your protection as a consumer. So really what you want to do is you want to use a credit card or a prepaid debit card instead of your bank card. That way, you're establishing a more secure payment, that you have more options if something were to happen. And I'd also highly consider using something like Apple Pay or Google Pay or PayPal, which has additional layers of protection. They're going to help mitigate any fraud or have additional consumer protections put in place that will help you if an issue does happen.
We'll end with this, and that happens to be the importance of keeping your software updated. Yet again, something I have a feeling that each and everything we're discussing, you're focusing on me, sir. That finger is pointing right at me. I got to do better.
No, definitely not pointing at you. But I want people to be aware that you have devices in your hand, you have devices in your home that are connected to the internet and that are connected, that have software that's connecting to the internet and provides you with great features. But the reality is there are security vulnerabilities, whether it's a phone, a computer, or a smart home device. And I want to make sure folks are putting those updates in place. You can enable automatic updates on those devices, and that's going to give you continuous protection from vulnerabilities and cyber criminals that are looking to exploit your devices every day.
Yet again, we have been discussing this with DC's Chief Technical Officer, Mr. Stephen Miller. Sir, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the Live Zone.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, folks, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Did you know that every 3 to 4 minutes, someone in the U.S. is diagnosed with blood cancer? It's hard enough for any man or woman to deal with. However, what if the victim happens to be a child? I want to tell you about Miss Kaya Thompson. You see, Miss Thompson will be spending the holiday season in the hospital with her 2 small children, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. Both kids have a rare disease and need blood stem cell transplants. To receive the transplants, a match for each child needs to be located on the National Registry. A match has been found for one. The other, well, still looking for a match. Miss Kaya Thompson joins us right now on the Live Zone. Miss Thompson, I truly appreciate you being patient, and thank you so much for joining us right here on the Live Zone.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Your story is truly one of a kind, and I probably did not give it justice. I'm hoping you could share with us how we got to where we are right now.
Sure. Yeah, a little bit about our story. I always wanted to be a mom, and for a very long time, I thought that was something that would never become a reality for me. I was 38 when I finally met my husband, and as active duty military, he promptly whisked me away out here to the East Coast. And in the years that followed our marriage, we suffered tragically 3 losses, 3 pregnancy losses. And then we also had the beautiful joy of bringing home our children, Noelle, she'll be 5 in December, and Luca, who turned 2 in August. And with Luca's arrival, it felt like our family was complete, and we started doing all of the things that families do. We were traveling, which is huge for us. We got a children's museum membership, and unfortunately, those are things that we can no longer enjoy. When my daughter was an infant, I started noticing some symptoms that seemed really concerning to me. And as a nurse of 20 years, a lot of red flags went up. And unfortunately, every provider I took her to dismissed my concerns as being normal for her age. And it wasn't until I met her dentist who validated my concerns and really empowered me to keep advocating for her. And by the grace of God, last fall, we met our hematologist, Dr. Bansell at Pediatric Specialist of Virginia, and she has been so amazing for our family. She not only listened to a concerned mom, but she also did a very thorough workup and was the one to diagnose my daughter with Chidiac-Higashi syndrome.
Wow.
Chidiac-Higashi is a very rare disorder that fewer than 500 people in the world have been diagnosed with, and the treatment to survive childhood is a bone marrow transplant. As such, my son was worked up to see if he could be her donor, and unfortunately, we found out that he too has Chidiac-Higashi syndrome.
Oh, gosh.
And so, as you said, I'm here in the hospital right now with my son. He's days away from his transplant, and I'm so grateful to the selfless individual who has put their life on hold to save my son. But also, as you said, I'm here today because my daughter doesn't have a match. And as my husband and I have served the public our entire professional careers, we are now pleading with the public, if you are between the ages of 18 and 35, please consider joining the NMDP registry to become a blood stem cell donor. And you may be able to save a life. It may even be my daughter Noelle's life.
Wow. Yet again, this truly pulls at the heartstrings, Ms. Thompson. I am so sorry that you are currently in this position. This is one of the reasons why we really wanted to bring this story to our viewers. It's something that each one of us can really make a difference. Yet again, you are encouraging folks to do just that, and that is to take part in the registry. Can you walk us through what one needs to do? Where does one need to show up? How do we begin the process?
Sure. There are a lot of drives that are being held locally and elsewhere, but you can go on to the NMDP website. It's nmdp.com/swab, and just put in your information. They will send you a kit in the mail. All you have to do is swab your cheek and then pop it back in the mail, and they will process that, and then you just wait. You must be between the ages of 18 and 35 to join the registry, but once you're in the registry, you don't age out until 61. So you have a lifetime full of opportunity to save a life.
Yeah. One of the things that we do on this show is we stay positive, and so we are going to speak this into existence, and that is that we will find a match. We truly appreciate your time. Our thoughts and prayers are with
Thank you.
and your family. Yet again, we have been speaking with Ms.
Thank you so
Kaya
much.
Thompson. You are welcome, joining us right here on the Live Zone. We'll follow up with you to make sure everything is A-OK. All right, folks.
I would love that. Thank you.
We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, folks, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. The countdown is on with regard to the House headed toward a vote this afternoon on legislation to force the Justice Department to publicly release its files on Jeffrey Epstein, the culmination of a months-long effort that has overcome opposition from President Trump and Republican leadership. Let's take a live look in on the House floor.
President Trump's DOJ that arrested and indicted Ms. Maxwell. It was the Republican-led Oversight Committee, through 13 subpoenas, that has released 65,000 pages of files in just 10 months. Meanwhile, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have largely ignored this issue. It was Democrats who redacted an email to mislead the American people about the truth of a witness that exonerated President Trump. It was a Democrat, Representative Placette, who literally texted with Jeffrey Epstein as we questioned Michael Cohen. It was Democrats who shut down the government, resulting in the delay of swearing in of members. As we vote to pass this legislation, and it will pass, it is impossible, however, to avoid problems with its politicization. One colleague has offensively gone so far as to say that to oppose this bill means you support pedophiles. Yet I know good public servants, former law enforcement, former prosecutors who never knew Epstein, never knew any visitors to his criminal enterprise, who have genuine concerns about supporting this bill out of fear of creating new victims or harming existing victims or both. That is what we've reduced Congress to, inserting itself into the prosecutorial process for political motivations, driven heavily by hatred of President Trump. We should be concerned about victim privacy, concerned about risking disclosure of non-credible allegations, of child sexual abuse materials, future investigations. But here's the deal. The leaders of this nation must expose abuses by the rich and the powerful. That is why President Trump and the House have been working for full transparency. But we should be motivated by truth and justice for all, not politics. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you. I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentlelady from Massachusetts, Representative Clark, the Minority Whip.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This should be an easy vote. This is about justice for the victims and survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. This is about every victim of trafficking and sexual abuse, monstrous crimes that thrive in secrecy and fear. Yet instead of shining a light on that darkness, Just moments ago, Donald Trump defended the continued obstruction of releasing these files. Even as House Republicans prepare to vote yes today, Speaker Johnson is calling this a show vote. He's calling it dangerous. He is signaling the U.S. Senate to block it. Republicans continue to use their power to shield rich pedophiles from justice. If you can't stand up for these survivors, how can anyone trust you to stand up for them? I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back. We yield. The gentleman reserves. Does the gentleman reserve?
Yeah, we reserve.
The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
We reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Yes, just very quickly, what happened under the Biden administration? Well, under the Biden administration, Ghislaine Maxwell was prosecuted for conspiring to sexually abuse and traffic girls in 2020. Right when it's in 2021, she was convicted. In December of 2021, after a month-long trial in Judge Nathan's courtroom, in 2022, Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison under the Biden administration for sex trafficking and sexual abuse of minors. But when President Trump took office in January of 2025, they killed the investigation. They assembled all the materials, they got all the prosecutors together, and they terminated the investigation. I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Raja Krishnamurthy.
The gentleman from Illinois is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong support to release the Epstein files. First, this issue is beyond party. It's a question of justice. Survivors have waited too long. Stop the delay. This is not a hoax. Release the files. Second, we must face a hard truth. Silence that shields the powerful is a betrayal of those they hurt. Congress must reject any attempt, including a presidential pardon or any form of clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell. This cannot be done. This would be a cover-up. We cannot allow clemency of any kind for Maxwell, not now, not ever. Survivors deserve justice. I urge a strong yes vote. Thank you.
Yields back.
I want to thank the gentleman for his eloquent remarks. Pardons are for people who are contrite. Pardons are for people who are repentant. Pardons are not for people who lie. Every member of this body should immediately, verbally, vocally denounce the idea of clemency, commutation, or pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell, and we reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Yeah, we reserve, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman reserves.
I yield 30 seconds to Ms. Leisure Fernandez.
The gentlelady is recognized.
There were thousands of girls and young women abused, trafficked, and used by Epstein, the elite and the powerful who believed they could get away with it. Epstein told the young victims that he controlled the banks and the government. Those women refused to be silenced, and today they have pierced the dark with their light. Anytime any girl is trafficked, molested, or abused, the world must stand up. Today, the House proves Jeffrey Epstein wrong. The Senate must do the same tomorrow.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from California. 1.5 minutes to the gentleman from California.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
I thank you, Chairman. Mr. Speaker, a minute and a half or an hour, the words would still have to be the same. We've all said that this will pass the House, perhaps unanimously today. I think all of us who have looked at the details of this particular bill know that it is flawed and that before it goes to the President's desk, it has to be amended as it can be amended in the Senate. And we call on the Senate to amend it so that we protect the innocent, so that we have the provisions that were intended perhaps to be in this bill but are not properly written. With that, President Trump has said, get it to his desk, he will sign it. President Trump has said he will do it. But I'm going to say to all of us, it is also important that we remember that Epstein is dead, but people live on, people who were innocent, people who in fact should not be named. We're not talking about the rich and the powerful, we're talking about the very victims. That is what we need to make sure is amended before it goes to the president's desk. And with that, I thank the chairman for his time. I think no more needs to be said that this body will vote for it all, but let's not kid ourselves. It has to be changed so that it properly protects both the tradition of the grand jury and clearly those innocent people that would otherwise be swept up. And I yield back.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
This whole bill is about protecting the innocent. Mr. Speaker, the Senate must pass the bill as we are passing it today and as the president has said he would sign it after changing his position on the bill over the weekend when he could see the tidal wave of public opinion moving against him. Let's pass this bill, pass it in the Senate, sign the bill, and let us go ahead and release the complete file. I yield 30 seconds to the distinguished gentlelady from Arizona, Representative Ansari.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, the walls are closing in on Donald Trump and his rich and powerful friends who either abused or raped children or were enabling and complicit in these heinous crimes for decades. This vote today matters, but here is the truth. Donald Trump could direct the Department of Justice to release the files today. He is choosing not to. They are already under subpoena, led by oversight Democrats, and have refused. This is an ongoing cover-up by the Trump White House, and Mike Johnson and the House has been complicit. What is Trump hiding? Why not release the files today? This is a
time has expired.
Release the files today. Thank you.
The gentlelady's time has expired. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to the distinguished gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Van Drew.
The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
Today I want to talk about hypocrisy. Let me be clear. I was from Jumpstart, a co-sponsor of this very bill. From the beginning, we should never protect pedophiles. But for months, my Democratic colleagues have done what they think is politically convenient through all the yelling, through all the tears, through all the sadness. They say releasing the Epstein list is of grave concern to them. If that was true, where were they during the 4 years of the Biden presidency? Why didn't they demand the release of these files from Jumpstart in year one? Mr. Speaker, why didn't they ask for them in year two? Or if that wasn't good enough, maybe in year three. They had control, or not even in his final year of office. Other than a single letter the ranking member wrote in 2019, a single letter, not one Democrat on the committee spoke out about Epstein or his victims of this very terrible tragedy, other than to say that he didn't like the plea deal. Let me say this. When they stand here today insisting how badly they want these files released, why didn't they do it? Yet they stayed silent for year after year after year after year under Joe Biden. It's impossible. Mr. Speaker, it is impossible to see that as genuine. What I see is a group more focused on scoring political points and drama than on protecting abused children. The record is clear. Under Republicans, far more information has been released in the last 6 months than was done during all 4 years of the previous presidency under Joe Biden. We've actually been the party of transparency. We've released the information. We've told the truth. Unfortunately, and I'm sad to say it, they have been the party of hypocrisy. Mr. Chair, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
You know, I've never heard a more defensive presentation in my life than what we're hearing from over there. The gentleman should spend a little less time pointing out hypocrisy and a little more time trying to ferret out cruelty, humiliation, and rape. And that's what we're working on. I yield 30 seconds to the distinguished gentleman from California, Mr. Min.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
I want to remind you that we are all here voting on this bill because President Trump, who has the power to release the Epstein files at any time, has refused to do so, calling this a hoax. We're here because Speaker Mike Johnson and President Trump have gone to extraordinary lengths to try to kill and delay the discharge petition, including refusing to seat Adelita Grijalva for over 40 days and threatening House Republicans who signed on. Now, several of my Republican colleagues have accused those of us House Democrats who support justice here of having Trump derangement syndrome. You all suffer from something much worse, which is pedophile protection syndrome. Stop protecting pedophiles. Release the Epstein files. The victims deserve justice. I yield back.
We reserve.
Members are reminded to direct their comments to the chair.
No kidding.
The gentleman from Maryland reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
We reserve.
The gentleman from Ohio reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
I'm yielding 30 seconds to my friend Representative Walkinshaw from Virginia.
The gentleman is recognized.
For years, Mr. Speaker, we have watched dangerous conspiracies like Pizzagate and QAnon shape our political landscape. They help fuel the rise of President Trump and were built on baseless claims about secret pedophile rings, while the real documented case of child sex trafficking involving Jeffrey Epstein remains shrouded in secrecy because President Trump refuses to release the files. What is President Trump hiding? Why won't he release the files? The House finally has the opportunity to act, release the files, and let the American people see the truth. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.
We reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
We reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Granting 30 seconds to the very distinguished gentlelady who is finally with us, Representative Adelita Grijalva from Arizona 7th.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to acknowledge the survivors, family members, and advocates who are here today and have never given up. The legislation in front of us, at its core, is about something very simple. The survivors deserve justice. The American people deserve the truth. To every survivor watching, your courage is inspiring. You are the reason why this vote is happening today. Protecting women and children from pedophiles should not be a Democratic issue, should not be a Republican issue. It should be a human rights issue and a matter of justice. I urge my colleagues to vote yes on the Epstein Files Transparency Act. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, and we reserve.
The chair will remind all persons in the gallery that they are here as guests of the House and that any manifestation of approval or disapproval of proceedings is in violation of the rules of the House. The gentleman from Maryland.
Yeah, but I'll just add they're here as honored guests of the House, and we're delighted they're here, and with that, we reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Yeah, we reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
I'm granting 30 seconds to Representative Lois Franco from Florida.
The gentlelady from Florida is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, for far too long, the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse were failed by a justice system that minimized their suffering and prosecutors who treated young girls as if they were criminals. That was wrong, and I am here with my colleagues to promise this. We will get to the bottom of why the Epstein survivors were treated so badly, who made those decisions, and who were they protecting. No more secrecy, no more excuses. We all deserve the truth, and I thank the survivors for their courage and perseverance. Your voices are being heard.
The gentlelady yields back. The gentleman reserves the balance of his time. The gentleman from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from the great state of Louisiana, the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Mr.
The gentleman from Louisiana is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Chairman Jordan, for doing such an extraordinary job on all of this. For 43 long days, the Democrats held this House and the entire country hostage. Finally, with the lights back on, this body's returning to our regular legislative session. We have a lot of work to do. My colleagues on this side of the chamber are ready and eager to get back to our urgent legislative work that we promised the American people we would do. We've got to continue lowering the cost of health care. We've got to bring down prices for American families, and we've got to finish the regular appropriations process, just to name a few of those priorities. And I wish I could say that our first order of business would be to get to those urgent priorities, but of course we're here spending time on the floor about something else. This is something we could have resolved last week when we brought a unanimous consent to pass this discharge with the full.
Yeah, again, House Speaker Mike Johnson discussing a number of things, particularly surrounding the Epstein files, or the lack thereof. We are awaiting a House vote at about 2:30. You can continue to watch the hearing right now. Stream it, as you can see it, on our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/@fox5dc.com. If you haven't already done so, download the Fox Local app as well. On behalf of producer Joey, I'm Guy Lambert. We're back tomorrow on the Live Zone.